Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hello. I'm off in one of my rooms here and just wanted to call, just kind of get in, right? Hopefully you've had an amazing day so far. You had a great weekend, an amazing week, hopefully. Well, if you don't know me, my name is Devon Morris. I'm going to be your guide on this journey, the Unfiltered Show, where we talk about Agile Scrum, entrepreneurship, things of that nature. And if you're new here, we're really here to answer your questions. But we always talk about a topic first, and our topic of the day is going to be product backlog prioritization tips, right? We spent some time talking about the Scrum Master. Now it's time to talk a little bit about the product owner, right? Right before we start talking about goals and stuff we need to create for next year. So, look, it's gonna be a good show. I think these tips are good tips, and I think you'll find it to be valuable today. You know, do me a favor. As usual, when you come through the door, just say hi. You know, like and subscribe as we will always do. Because we're going to try to grow this channel next year. We met our goal for this year. Next year, we'll try to work toward doing other things. However, you know, it's a good week for me, man. Good start off in terms of the week. Training this morning. Smaller class, but I like it because I get to be a little bit more intimate with them. But outside of that, man, it's just goodness, right? It's just goodness, and I love it. So whether you're on LinkedIn or you are sitting here on YouTube, just say hi. Just say hi. I'll give you a shout as we get through. What do I have going on this week? Nothing special, right? Probably the youngest girl, she turns 20, for a week or so. So I gotta go up there and do, my daddy stuff up there. And, other girl saw her yesterday. She's busy getting her hair done. Ain't got time to talk to her daddy. But outside of that, in terms of the world of business, closing the contract, and debating on what I'm going to do for the rest of the year. Biggest thing is, got some people to reach out to. Other than that, I think it's been actually a pretty good year, right? And so I'm kind of in reflection mode to some degree. It's been one of those amazing years. It's been a little bit different. I've been so busy I've been so busy just trying to come down from everything that I didn't even get a chance to set the show up until really late. And so, even though I thought I had everything together, I didn't. So it's all good. So we probably have a little less people here today because I didn't send out the notifications. But that's okay. That's okay. This is on repeat. I always tell people, this is the place to get your questions answered. Actually, I had somebody send me a question. I may grab that question if we have time and just kind of talk about it on the show a little bit. Because I don't know if I sent her a note saying I answer questions here. But on that note, life is good. Everything is amazing. I think the last classes I have for the year, CSM, CSPO, and an ACSM. Those are the last classes, but those are going to be in December. I always do 2-3 classes in December to make sure we close the year out. And then it's going to be about scheduling 2024 and determining what else I'm going to do, right? I'm actually getting my energy up because I got to, continue working through this PhD. But other than that, let me just say hi. I got a couple people here. How you doing there? My Yetzo, how you doing? Mr. J, how you doing? D, how's it going? You know, we're just here. We're just here. All right, so here's the deal. Our topic of the day: prioritization, product backlog prioritization techniques. I'm gonna talk to you, talk about it with you, talk through product backlog prioritization techniques that I think would be really helpful. I think it's an extremely important thing. If you really think about it, you know, the first thing that I'll say to you as we start this topic is everything being number one means nothing is number one. And all of us have had situations where a lot of things are number one. And we don't want a lot of things to be number one because we want to be in a position where if other things are going to take longer periods of time, we can let the lower priority things kind of fall off the list to some degree, right? That's really one of the major reasons, right? And you know, we always in situations with scope, it's negotiated, right? And so if we're going to negotiate on scope, let's start doing that in the beginning. And part of that negotiation is how you prioritize, right? If there is a big reason why I think you need to prioritize, I think the biggest reason, and I probably got 7, 8, but I probably can go more than that. I think the biggest reason why you need to prioritize is for you to actually learn. As a product owner, you don't know everything, right? You don't know everything, right? I don't know any product owner that's ever known anything. But understanding the business needs, understanding the customer's needs, because I think there's an overlap between the business and customers, and in that middle sits your actual sweet spot. So when you understand the business needs, the customer needs, you can find that sweet spot in the middle where pretty much all of your product really lies right in that center, right in that sweet spot. And so you will have to engage the various stakeholders, internal stakeholders, various stakeholders within your organization. And you will also have to engage various users, right? End users, but other types of users exist as well. And understand their pain points. And understanding their pain points is going to allow you to understand a little bit more about the user journey and what you need to do in terms of your product. This makes sure that your product backlog is aligned with the reality that's needed. You're really taking and applying and gaining an opportunity to establish real world requirements. You're able to meet the demands that the market is asking for. You're able to stay within the constraints that the organization desires for you to stay within. I believe all these things are extremely important. And so one of the biggest tips I can give you is to learn, understand the business, understand the customer, find that sweet spot in the middle where that overlap happens between the two. You do that, things will be amazing for you as a product owner. No joke on that one. Another thing, so number 2 that I will put on the list, right? And you know, I'll ask you all in the room, right? Lots of people here, right? Hey, how you doing, Marco? But I'll ask you, right? If you think about it, what do you think about what I just told you in terms of understanding needs, business and customers, right? Am I wrong on that? Let me know, because if I'm wrong on some of this, I want y'all to help keep my nose clean, right? Number 2, this is something that, last week I had a product on the class, and this is something that I almost kind of crushed into a product on the class, right? Really just kind of crushed it into the product on the class. And that is to use value as your major driver for prioritization. Value in some kind of way, right? And so here's the deal. When you prioritize things based on value, you are incorporating, those things that you understand from the business and from the customer. Value classically comes from a few sources like market, capability building, risk reduction, classic places where you'll find value, which will drive return on investment, right? That will also impact, satisfaction, and you want to make sure that you can maximize those things. But how do you maximize those things if you don't have a semi-objective way of looking at things? And understanding value can help you with that, okay? So I firmly believe that almost in anything that I do, I think about value, period. And in thinking about value, I'm just kind of like, this is amazing. This is great. It always helps me out, right? And so I almost train every product owner that I ever work with to think about that, right? So if you had to prioritize those two, I probably would put value at my number one. I mean, how do you understand value without understanding customer needs? Because I'm just saying, right? I'm thinking about how I would prioritize these things, and I'm not sure which one to be number one or number two. But, all right, let's talk about something else. Number 3 on this list in terms of tips. If I'm you, probably there's a few cuts I would take in my product backlog, right? One of the biggest cuts I would take in my product backlog and have a real honest look at my product backlog is I would use the Moscow technique. Now, anybody that understands the Moscow technique, we add 2 O's to spell out the word Moscow, but it's must-haves, should-haves, could-haves, and won't-haves, or wait till laters, right? And when you understand those key things, especially the must-haves, because the must-haves are really, really interesting because the must-haves are necessary for the product to function, right? And so you really got to have your must-haves understood well enough, right? And I'm really talking about being real clear on these things, right? So for me, thinking about or using Moscow helps me to separate what's absolutely critical, essential, right? For one, the user, and what's necessary for me to manage stakeholder expectations, right? I want to really do both of those things, right? And when I say stakeholders, I'm really talking about the business. When I'm talking about users, I'm talking about the customers, right? And so I want to be able to deal with both of those things, right? But the idea is that my cut through the product backlog will likely be utilizing Moscow. I think that's an amazing technique to utilize. And I think these 3 things that I just told you about, you can use all 3 of them together, right? I use them all the time, based on whatever I'm trying to do within that product backlog. So I think all 3 of these are very valuable for you to use together. Number 4, right? Consider risk and dependencies that you may have from a product perspective. Now, I would agree with you that there will be engineering dependencies, but I'm not talking about those dependencies. I'm talking about dependencies that are necessary from a requirement product perspective, right? And consider risk, right? Now, the thing is that when you think about risk and dependencies, the sooner you understand those things, the more you can utilize the prioritization of your product backlog to minimize those problems, right? To minimize them, right? Because what it does is it reduces uncertainties that exist, and the potential for you to have obstacles along the way as they start getting into the development process. You end up with a little less gotchas, right? When you are able to consider risk and dependencies that exist. So I think that's an important one to consider when you start thinking about your product backlog, right? Number five. I think this is one that I think is really important. And I think it's important because I think the whole agile movement is based off this, right? And if you're not doing this, you're missing the major reason why we do any of this agile stuff whatsoever. And that is product feedback and learning from a product perspective. The whole reason why you do this, we like to say we want to deliver sooner, but the one major thing you're guaranteed is feedback sooner. You do this thing appropriately. It's feedback sooner that you're really looking for. And feedback is going to guide you in various directions, right? And so you want to make sure you're getting regular feedback. You want to make sure that regular feedback is being updated in your product backlog. You want that feedback to come from the actual, if you can get the actual users, that's even better. But stakeholders that represent the users, stakeholders who are impacted by this thing. And you also want to make sure that you incorporate any feedback that the team may have. They can bring up some legitimate things that you may want to consider that could impact performance and things of that nature. And so you have an opportunity to really learn and take those moments to learn, right? We tend to think of sprint reviews as one of the best places to learn that kind of information. But you can get information all over the place, right? Surveys. There's just many ways to go about getting feedback. So from me to you, I'd say incorporate that feedback thing as much as possible. Now, I would never say I'm trying to prioritize them in my head, right? Which one will be number one, right? I'm curious, like if you think one of these things should be the top of the list, if there's nothing else, one of these things that you got to do, which one of these things do you think that should be, right? Number 6, right? With that feedback, make sure you utilize the feedback and you take time to get other kind of feedback on your product backlog. So you want to review that product backlog. You want to refine that product backlog on a regular basis. A lot of people bring up the product backlog refinement meeting. And I'm not even bringing it up. Like, I like to use product backlog refinement to put it in front of the developers to get their honest feedback on whether this thing is ready to go, right? Even if I'm getting that kind of review where it lets me know how good I've written a requirement and what I need to do to improve. So it makes me better. Frequently revisiting those things will help to make your product backlog better, and it will help you to be able to better account for priorities along the way. It will always keep your product backlog relevant and really there to deal with the changes in the marketplace, right? So I think that's really, really important for you to do that, right? You got to think to yourself, as a product owner, you probably don't write perfect requirements. I don't think anybody does. And I think everybody can do a much better job if they just take a little bit of feedback and incorporate it as best they can. So you want to make sure you do that, right? Number 7, right? Number 7. And this one could be number 1, but you should set up some real clear goals and objectives. One thing that really happened, the updated 2020 Scrum Guide, is we got a concept called product goal, right? And even before that, we have things like a vision, a business case, stuff like that, right? So if you think to yourself, right, what is the overall overarching direction that we're kind of moving in, right? Well, what happens when you set goals is you're aligning prioritization with both long-term and short-term goals. And in Scrum, we have the product goal and we have the sprint goal. And you want those things to be in alignment. The more you can have those things in alignment, the better you're going to be in this situation. And that's what you want to be. You want to make sure you're deadly in alignment, right? That means that every time they pull something to work on it, it's working to meet your objectives. It's working to meet your goals. And that's what you want. You want everything there, everything that they grab to be working toward meeting your goals. If you can do that, that's a pretty good place to be sitting, right? Let's see. Another thing that I would add to this is there are these things called prioritization frameworks. And I think they can be useful to you for various reasons. 2 of them that I kind of look toward and I've experienced the most is using Kano model Kano is a way of categorizing your requirements, your features into categories like exciters, performers, basic needs, and so you can, put a combination of the right things together and give it to the customer. And then there's weighted scoring models, right? Well, I find weighted scoring models to be absolutely beautiful when I got a tremendous amount of stakeholders and I have to justify some of my prioritization reasons, right? Now, a product owner is supposed to be the sole decision maker, but that's not always the case, especially if you got some kind of boss. Utilizing these frameworks helps you to decrease some of the biases that you may have. It gives you a very structured approach toward how you're dealing with prioritization, right? If I was dealing with customers outside the company, I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to slap some Kano in there because I know people buy because of exciters, right? If I don't have that issue and internally I got a bunch of really strong stakeholders, I might use some type of weighted scoring model, right, to actually help me improve my decision making, right, while removing some of those biases, right? That's number 8 right there. I think that's a really good one, right? Utilizing that is going to actually help you actually move forward in a really positive way. That's 8 items that I think are really, really amazing in terms of how you should think about this, right? Probably, if I was to add another one, I would probably consider the estimates. If you're estimating, estimates give you an idea how much something is going to cost to get it done. If you have an idea of how much something is going to cost to get it done, that means you can use that element to compare along with value in combination with value, right? If you have 2 things that are roughly the same value, but they cost drastically different costs to get in, you might choose one because it's just lower cost, right? Because it gives you roughly the same return on investment. So having an idea of what something's going to cost, I think, is another thing to consider. That's probably number 9. That wouldn't be at the top of my list. That wouldn't even be top 5 of my list. But I think it is something that you can actually utilize and consider in a way that's going to be really helpful for you. Yeah. That's 9 items right there. That's 9 items. And I think those 9 items would actually help you to have a really strong product backlog. Let me mention these things again. Some prioritization, well, that wasn't the last one. I said effort, thinking about how much time it takes or how much something costs is one of the things you should think about. You should think about some prioritization framework or technique. You should think about setting really clear objectives, making sure you review things on a regular basis. Make sure that you incorporate the things that you learn, that feedback. Make sure you consider risk, dependencies. The team, you make sure you consider using something like Moscow. Make sure that you have some value-based prioritization. Make sure you understand needs, business, and customer needs. Those are all the things that I would consider in terms of prioritizing a product backlog, right? I'll ask you all, which one of those things do you think is the most valuable of them, right? If you could only take one of them away, which one would you take away, right? Which one would you say that's the number 1 thing to think about? Drop that in the chat for me, right? I'm over here thinking about which one of these would be my top thing, right? That if I had nothing else, if I had one thing to tell a product owner to help them, just one thing, I could tell them nothing else. What would that thing be? I'm thinking about that, right? My problem is some of these things they go hand in hand, right? So when I think about prioritization, how do I prioritize without understanding potential outcomes? In order to understand potential outcomes, I have to understand the impact to the users, right? That means I need to understand customer needs. So number one I would put on my list, even though I know there's some precursors to it, would probably be value-based prioritization. Would probably be that. Because that at least says to me, if people work from top to bottom in the product backlog, whenever they stop, we'll have the most valuable product out there, right? So that's, I think that way, right? But then Marco says, hey, man, feedback. Man, feedback is way high on my list too, right? Because, even if I don't prioritize things the best way, the users, me putting it in front of the users, they'd be like, yeah, we got this, but you missed out on these things here. And we love to have these things, right? Like that feedback is absolutely critical, right? So could I really put feedback above that? Man, I'm telling you, I'm thinking about I could, right? It just is one of those things where it's just like, which one is most important? And I know that they all go hand in hand, right? They really all go hand in hand. And I don't think there's a way to separate one from the other. But again, if I had to, I probably still would go with value-based prioritization, right? I just probably would, right? I think there's many things that are close second, right? But that value-based prioritization, I think, is absolutely key, at least for me. At least for me. But I'm curious as to what it is for you. I love it. Absolutely love it. So I think we're going to leave that one at that, right? Think about that. What did I miss? Is there something that I missed in terms of prioritization tips? What tip would you give to someone that I missed? Whatever that tip is, drop it in the comments for me. Drop it in the comments for me, right? Because I think tips are really important. I think the one role that we do not help enough is definitely the product owner. So it's something to be thought about, something to deal with. So we want to make sure we consider that and consider helping the product owner the best way we can. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, as we always do with this show, we take a moment to make sure that we open up the floor for questions that you may have. Whatever questions you have about Scrum, Agile, you could have a question that is more about the topic of the day, prioritization. If you have that, that's amazing too. I love it, right? I'm just connecting up to make sure that you want to come online and have a conversation with me, we actually can. Now, here's one of the things that's beautiful about this show. We actually allow you to ask your questions via the comments, so you're welcome to drop any questions that you have into the comments. You are also welcome to join me live on this chat, where we can have an exchange and talk about whatever thing you want to talk about and have that exchange. If you want to do that, then my recommendation for you is to join the show. And you could join the show by joining the link that I just put in the chat, that I just put in the comments. Okay. I'm going to put that in, two locations, on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So you can. But I'm going to open the floor for questions to make sure that we're good to go. And you may not have any questions. All you all may be tired of me and be like, look, this dude talk too much. He here every week. Every week this dude is here. But I'm here to answer your questions, right? Yeah. So that being said, the floor is open for questions. So I'm going to take a look at the chats, see what's going on. Maybe I scared you all today. I don't know. I think that today was a good topic. I just know that over the years, I know one of the biggest downfalls has always been, at least with me, is making sure product owners are good. And I think we should clean that up, because one of the most important things that you got going on in this life is the health of your product backlog, which has an impact on all other kind of things moving forward. So what kind of questions do you all have about this topic or any other topic that exists? I know I can tell you this much. I'm about to create a nice little product backlog, so and then I can see how I'm about to create some goals, right, for 2024. And that's going to help me create my product backlog because I'm probably going to look at my product goal and look at not sprint goals, look at my product goal, and then look at my overall roadmap to see how personal life, business, relationships are all doing, right? So I definitely will be doing that sooner versus later, right? And so it's one of those things where, it is November, man. 2024 is around the corner. I cannot believe that 2023 has gone so fast. It's almost like I feel like it was yesterday when January started, right? And so we're just at that place now where it just seems like it just keeps going faster and faster. For some of you all, may be real slow. I don't know, but for me, it seems like it just goes down faster. Okay, I'll tell y'all what I'm doing though. I'm gonna take. I'm actually, it's exciting. I'm gonna be taking my youngest daughter to go see her favorite comedian. So she's gonna have fun with her favorite comedian, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to go see one of my favorite comedians down here, um, as well. So I'll be seeing comedians weekends in a row. So I kind of don't do this stuff all the time, but I'm gonna go see a few comedians. So for me, that's exciting. Hopefully, they don't talk bad about me, my nose or my eyes or something like that. Strangely, I have one gray hair in my eyebrow. One of these eyebrows, I think it's this one. I got one gray hair. So if you notice it on camera, that sucks because I'm not on the best camera in the house, man. I see if I was in the studio, you'd probably be able to see it. But I ain't in the studio, so you ain't. I'm just talking. I'm just talking, right? So hey, Farhan, how's it going? And I don't know why they just call you Hello. That could be your actual name, Hello, but that's what they call you. I'm just saying. Well, I don't see no one. I just see Hello. That's interesting, right? Don't know what's up with that, but I'm good with it regardless. So questions, please drop them in the chat. This is interesting, right? So I have a question here, right? 2340 CJ, how you doing? Hopefully everything's going well with you. What advice would you give a product owner to succeed? Probably, probably the biggest missing that I see with a lot of product owners is them not learning. I don't see product owners that are on the feather journey of learning. That's probably the biggest missing I see with product owners in general is that I don't see a lot of them just going to give more knowledge in terms of things. Now, I would say a couple of things, right? I'll say definitely be value focused, definitely learn about Scrum, but I would say get as much knowledge you can within a Scrum arena. But I would say to you that knowledge is limited. I would say to you, if you're a product owner and you're really serious about product management, I would say to you, go start having good conversations with product management type people. The thing about me is, me as a product owner, when I learned the most stuff, is when I kind of broke away from Scrum and really focused in on product management as a profession, right? And I started going to, thought leaders within the product management space, right? Yeah, I read product management books related to Scrum, but those don't touch the surface like other things touch, right? And so learning about how to do different type of minimally viable test, right? To help you figure out whether you're going to get the outcomes or whether you can project outcomes related to the things that you decide to implement. So I would say first of all, learn all the basics as a product owner. Get your CSPO, go beyond that, learn things on the job. Just know what you need to do in terms of product ownership. Yeah, focus on return on investment. Absolutely, would probably be one of the major things I would say. But here's the deal. I think you should go beyond the Scrum stuff and really go and associate with product managers. They have conferences, they have great things that are going on. And so I would tell product owners to not limit themselves to the Scrum space. Go beyond that and go learn what product management is really all about. Get with some professionals in that space. So, and then you can bring tools that everybody won't see, right? Because a lot of times you find within your organization that most product management types or product owners aren't really trying to grow. They have the knowledge of their product. They may even focus on their product and have a lot of knowledge about the user. But if they're not going out into the industry, learning from other people that's outside their industry, they may not be growing as fast as they can. So I would say learn all the basics within Scrum, but expand beyond that. Expand beyond that, right? And then the other thing I would say, if only they're staying within Scrum, learn how to hit that 80-20 sweet spot when it comes to user stories, which means you got to understand value. But if you can do that, you probably can win. You probably can win without a lot of people bothering you. CJ, hopefully that answer helps you. Let me know if it does. If it doesn't, rephrase it. Let me know, and I answer it. Um, but I find that unfortunately for us Scrum team members, we are mostly happy with a product owner that shows up. Once you experience a product owner that doesn't show up, product owners that show up are super dope. Like, they're just super dope, right? And so when you have product owners that show up, man, you just be excited for no reason. Like, you be like, this is amazing and great. I tell people in class, the product owner that I had that was my best product owner, man, this dude got me to join Amway. For real. Really, I mean, I ain't lying to you. You got me to join Amway. It seemed like I'm a little tilted. I don't know why I feel like I'm tilted. Chair. I feel like I'm a little tilted. That's okay. Nothing I can do about it. I'm going to try to fix it right now. All right, so that being said, let's see. CJ has another question here. How would you start the conversation? The conversation with the product owner about them succeeding, about them being a better product owner, man, I would just start it, man. They know how you start. I just go, hey, I got some things I'd like to show you. And I just present them with some things I'd like to show them. I never had a problem starting conversations with product owners because I always think to myself, how can I bring value to the product owner? How can I help this product owner meet their objectives? How can I help this product owner to give more value to the team so that they can get what they're looking for, right? So I'm always thinking like that, how I can be of good service to a product owner. And normally, if I come at it from that position, not from the position of I have more knowledge than you, I never assume I have more domain knowledge than the product owner. It is not my job to have more domain knowledge than they got the domain knowledge. I want them to have other techniques that they can help to make that to get the right things out with that domain and knowledge that they have. It's not just about, it's about the right product, right? And how do I get the right product out at the right time, right? That's what it's more about. So I think you just start the conversation without arrogance, without being a butt about it. And you just let them know that you're just really there to help. Some product owners ain't going to listen. That's okay. But if they don't listen, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about somebody that's not willing to listen. Nothing. Like, I'm not even going to pretend like you should, yes, you should try, but you can't make somebody listen. You know what I'm saying? You just can't make somebody listen. And so if they don't want to listen, then that's a whole different problem. You do your best with them as you can and you keep it moving. But the ones that do want to listen, they'll find a lot of value in what you got to say. And we'll welcome your help. Really will. You know, even when I didn't know, even before I was ever a product owner, I just had people that would take my advice because they know I'm trying to be helpful. And remember, any advice that I give, they don't have to take it. You know, as one of my godfathers in Scrum said to me, it is not my job to make them do something. It just isn't. They're grown people, and grown people gonna do what they want to do. I can't make them do it. So it's just one of those things where you want to really think about it. You want to lead them. Um, you want to lead them without forcing them. Give them the autonomy to be able to do what they choose to do, make decisions accordingly. and just kind of move forward and go from there, you know? So with me, it's just helpful to just take that step by step approach, build that trust with them. And once we do that, we just have conversations on a regular basis, and I'm just there with them on this journey. And normally, even if I'm there with them on the journey to just do the regular Scrum things that we need, they'll learn to trust me and allow me to help them in other ways to help make them a better person. Because really, a better product owner, not necessarily a better person, but a better product owner, right? Okay, so great. Thank you, CJ. All right, Miss White, how you doing? You can try starting them with an item from the retrospective where they can help the team. Absolutely. Great advice, right? You can simply start, you can start them with, here's a problem. Product owner, you are definitely suited to solve this problem. Heck, they could be the problem. It could be how they write requirements is the problem. It could be the requirements of missing certain things. But, realistically, it's not a blame game. It's really how can you help position this team to better be able to do what you desire for them to do. And the more we position that team, um, the easier it's going to be to get what you want. And that's really, really important. I think it's important. I think most product owners think it's really important. And normally I don't have an issue with that, but you definitely can start off with items that come out of the retrospective because those items are what the team thought in general. As long as you have a retrospective where you're not the dominant talker, then it's good. If you retrospective, you're the dominant talker. Well, different kind of problem. We're not different dealing with that different kind of problem right now, but you want to take your time and start diving into it, right? What other questions do you all have in relationship to the role of product owner? Okay, no shame here. I'm just double checking my folks on LinkedIn, but then I have another one here from Marco. How can I get product owner experience after the CSPO certificate? I think we did a series of. I think we did a series of things with talking about the Scrum Master and how the Scrum Master can get experience. And I think a lot of those things can apply here. Maybe I should talk about that in a future show for sure. But my philosophy, if there's one thing I would tell you to do, is apply the product owner skills that you learned, Marco, in your daily work. Like assuming you got a job, right? Assuming you're doing something somewhere, think about yourself as a product owner in the role that you do, and how can you best get those things done. If you think about it from that perspective, you can start finding ways to apply some of those skills that you have as a product owner from that product owner perspective. If you don't have a role, I would be looking to find ways I can do it with people I love and care about for small projects that we do. I find a way to volunteer. Volunteer could be with the family, it could be with some church or organization that you love, and find ways to help them get the most value that they can within something that they're trying to accomplish. I think that's how you can get some experience pretty much as a product owner. I always start with what I have in hand. You don't have any control over things that you don't have in hand. So, whatever I have in hand, whatever I can use that product knowledge is where I'm going to start at to get some experience. It may not be apples to apples, but it's a start. It's a start. Because if you do it seriously, you're going to run into some problems. You run into some problems, then you're going to come up with some solutions. You come up with some solutions, other people in jobs have similar problems and came up with similar solutions. And so that will really help you. But I'm going to take a note of that, Marco, because I think now what you're basically saying to me is I probably should do a PO, new PO, a new PO show. Where how do you get that experience? How do you get experience when you don't have an experience? Experience with no experience. So I'm writing that down. We'll make that into a future show, Marco. Okay? I think I can give you at least 7 different things. I think about it for a minute and make sure I give you some of those things. Okay? So great. Other questions, everyone? Yeah, always start with what you have. I was just in a leadership meeting and somebody was waiting on someone else for something. Well, they was waiting before they could make a move, and you don't have any control over something that you're waiting for. The other people got to get it done, you know, and they were trying to make a goal around something that they're waiting for. Well, you can't make a goal around something that you don't have no control over. So my statement to you is you can't say you're going to get experience where you don't have that place to get experience. So take some place where you have some control, you have some say, and utilize that thing as a way of getting experience. A lot of this stuff doesn't have to happen within the walls of an org company. Trust me, I use these kind of concepts outside of this all the time. Just because it just makes sense to me. If it didn't make sense to me, then that would be different. But it just tends to make sense to me, so I tend to move in those directions with these things as best I can, right? Some cases I can't do that. But as best I can, that's what I'm going to do almost in every single situation. 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 Feel me? That's me. Hopefully, that's you too. Bada bing, bada bang. All right, so let's see. What other questions do we have? No problem, Marco. But seriously, I think that's a good idea because I did a whole series of shows talking about the Scrum Master and the Scrum Master that don't have any experience. I think I'll do the same thing for the product owner. You know, I think most of the ideas will be similar, but I don't think people are going to look at the Scrum Master video as a PO and be like, yeah, I can do those things. But I think 70% of them will be the same. So if you want to look at that, that's cool. If you want to wait for the video is going to come soon. Maybe next week we'll do it because it sounds. I mean, I thought about doing it, right? But then I'd be worried about duplication and stuff like that. I don't think I need to be worried about that in this case. I just don't. Why don't I? I just don't. You know, I think it'd just be amazing, right? And then people will benefit from it. And I would love for the product owners to benefit from some greatness. I like greatness. Do you like greatness? I think we all like a little bit of greatness. I really believe that to be true. Sometimes I don't know why I be believing things, but you know, I'm a good guy trying to live in a good world and be all extra good about a lot of great things. That's me in a nutshell. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So yeah, so you know, I'm just me, you're just you, we're just we. This is such a good thing. Such an amazing, 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 amazing thing. Right? Anyway. All right, so that ain't what we stop at. So let's see. What else do we got going on here? Let's see. Miss D, do you have saved videos on Scrum Masters getting experience? No, I just do the show videos, right? So the videos from the show is pretty much what we have there. And we did a show where we talked about Scrum Masters getting experience and the different ways they can go about getting experience. Um, it would be in the list of shows that we had. I'm just going here and I'm changing up my YouTube stuff, trying to switch accounts real quick because I don't remember all the names of all the shows. But um, if I just switch up and look at the history, I probably can tell you specific names or drop you a link or something like that. So let me just check it out real quick and see what's up. And then, you know, if I see it, I'll just drop it, right? Um, let's see. This ain't it, but you know, let's see. Get shareable link. So if I was to drop this one, that video right there that I just dropped in the chat is about finding a job as a Scrum Master. Let's see. Let me see what the live videos were. One is, oh, this one right here. Let me get the link. This one right here is about gaining experience as a Scrum Master. Okay. So I just dropped another one there, gaining experience as a Scrum Master. But again, you just go in there and always in the beginning of the videos, after the first 5 minutes, we go through our topic. Um, this one right here is preparing for a Scrum Master interview. So I think if you go those three places, these are the links. But again, D, I would say just go ahead and subscribe to the show and just go through the shows, right? And just go look at the titles, and then the titles it'll tell it to you, right? And so we have 211 videos out there, so that's a really lot of videos, right? I never thought that we would get to 50, and so I think that if you go take a look and you subscribe to the channel, I think you'll be good to go on that, right? So no problem. You're so welcome, right? You're so welcome, right? And so we'll do a series of those kind of things on the product owner as well, because I think it actually would be helpful for everybody involved. But just one of the main reasons why I've done this show, why I started doing this show, is because you know people ask me the same question every day. Get a lot of questions every day, and it is roughly the same 10 questions, right? So the objective in creating the show was to create, you know, videos that can provide those answers. So, and then these videos are available to people 24/7, um, without the need for them to reach out to me. They can go and just gain knowledge, right? And gaining knowledge can be helpful. And watching videos like this can help you with a certain amount of Scrum education units, right, under particular categories. So I think it's beneficial with these things, and the answers are here, and it's not like you have to spend additional money to get the answers, right? I think there's a whole lot of value in having a place where you can go. You don't have to spend no money going there. You don't have to spend no money to get the question answered, and you can get your questions answered. This is super valuable, right? And so, we have what, 11 people here of the thousands of people out there that do Scrum. You know, hundreds of thousands of people. We got 1,000 people that subscribed over that number, and we have 11 people here. Less than 1%. So realistically, it's just one of those things where we got to start thinking about how do we take the stuff that we learn and turn it not just into our next payday, but really to turn our passion into profit, turn our passion into something that's something that's sustainable that we love, right? And I have found a way to turn what I love into something that's sustainable, um, and has raised six kids. Has raised six kids, right? So I think in terms of the purpose of why I'm here, I think a lot of it's been served in many ways, in many, many ways. Okay. And I think the same thing can happen for you based on what you decide to do with this stuff. Okay. Completely up to you though, right? I just have a certain motivation about this thing that is undeniable. Like, it's really undeniable. It's ridiculous how dogmatic I am about this, right? Whole lot of tenacity. You feel me? Um, but I've always been that way, right? I was sitting with a group of people and they was talking about goals, and I just realized people are so broken with just goals, right? Just smart goals in general. And man, I have smart goals every day. Like every day. I'm always hungry. I'm always hungry, thirsty for stuff. I'm definitely thirsty for knowledge. I've always been that way, right? But I always want to win, 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 win. And it don't have nothing to do with anything else beyond trying to get away from the south side of Chicago, be in a position to take care of my grandmother. You know, you just find the things that motivate you. Being a good example for my cousins and my brothers, since I'm the oldest on both sides of the family. All these things are things that I Just always been like. I don't even know. I don't even know how else to be. Um, you know, maybe built into me, but it just is what it is for me, right? Um, and I think that's I think that's muscle memory that any of us can build. I think you can build that kind of muscle memory if you choose to. Like I literally do believe that you can build that same kind of muscle memory. Okay. And I just believe it's just simply that muscle memory. I don't think there's anything special about me. Okay. Other questions? Any other questions that you all may have as we finalize and start closing out for the evening? What else is going on? Next week, I think is going to be important. I think I will talk about POs gaining how to gain experience as a PO. I think I'll talk about that next week, and so I'll try to get that scheduled earlier than what I got this one scheduled. And then we can actually go from there. But any final things? Other than that, I just really appreciate each and every one of you all. I hope that as you think about the topic that we talked about, prioritization, um, product backlog prioritization tips, hopefully that gives you something to think about for your product owner or for you as a product owner, and utilize that stuff to make yourself better. To make yourself better. If you can do that, man, you beating 1,000 people. When you even think about it. So on that note, man, I will say I appreciate every single one of you all, especially for showing up. We do this every Monday. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe, you like the content, and just click the notification button because we always go live 10 minutes prior to 8 o'clock on Monday nights. And when we do that, we just doing that to let you know we're here, and then we start promptly at 8 and we end at 9, and we just keep it moving. Like to do it at the beginning of the week because everybody starts that beginning of the week and got something to get into. So then you're good. So on that note, look, you make sure you have an amazing week. Like, don't let anybody steal your sunshine. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Um, yes, this can count toward SEUs. I'm a certified Scrum trainer. Time that you spend with certified Scrum trainers count for toward STUs. Plus, this is about Scrum. So, yes, this kind of information can count toward SEUs, and it's free. It won't count for all your SEUs though. SEUs fall under certain categories, and some of this time you spend here can actually qualify for that. Okay, it's just facts, and I don't even advertise this being as a way to get SEUs, right? Because I want you to be here because you want to be here, right? I really do. So that being said, this is amazing. I appreciate you all showing up. And, come back next week and we're going to continue the same journey. We're going to actually talk about POs and POs gaining experience, maybe how you can help your PO get some experience. But other than that, you have a super amazing week. I know I'm going to have a great week. I'm make sure it's a great weekend. And then, we're going to get together next week and do great things is what we're going to do. Other than that, I'm going to say I appreciate you all. Have a good one and peace. See you soon.